means to keep right.
Hey friends, it's Monday, September 6th, 2021. Welcome back or welcome aboard to the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet. It's called Prepare to Go There because it's all about the necessary yet unnoticed preparation that we have to do as friends and leaders to show up ready. And my name is Peter. Again, I'm so grateful to go on this extended coaching journey with you. Happy Labor Day if you're here in the States. It's been a good, somewhat off day for me. I got to sleep in and have a little bit of a different morning routine, but back in it today to hang out with you and introduce a brand new conversation that I think is very relevant, very important. So let's get you into the future frontier, help you keep your future on the front burner. I've observed that most people don't know how to lead others into a better future simply because they're not putting enough emphasis on self-leadership. They don't realize how important self-leadership is in that process. And so ultimately, they just don't know how to lead themselves into that better future first. So that's why I'm so passionate about inviting as many friends and leaders as possible to go on this journey, right? This learning, leading journey of being empowered and empowering other people to do what matters and to go the distance, make a difference. And so I want to invite you, if you're interested, learning how to focus practically on the future and then figuring out how to lead yourself there tactically day by day, then this is for you. It's more than just one video or one topic. It really is a lifestyle. And so that's why we have a community. We have a community of leaders. They're leading on different levels. They're in different spaces. Some of them are in business, education. A lot of them are creatives, entrepreneurs. A lot of my friends are in ministry. So we're kind of covering the whole map. And I want to get you the support and the coaching that you need to really keep you going, keep you company as you do that daily preparation. I want to get started with a quote. I love this. I just finished a book by Keenan Callahan, and he said, "We look to the future to know what to do with the present." And so that's why I want to start a series of conversations this week on disruption, the power of disruption. I think we have all gotten a crash course in disruption. Going back to 2020, such a catalytic time that kind of thrusted us into this new world that we're living in. And personally, I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of encouragement. It's not, shallow optimism. It's not entrenched optimism by any means. There's real challenges and real issues to work through, but I see the value of what we're working towards, what we're waiting on. And so I'm down. I'm going to keep going. I'm committed to go the distance, make a difference. I'm committed to just enjoy the journey, that we're on. I don't think that we got life to, abuse it. I think we were given life to give it away and to find the meaning of, trusting the Lord and making a difference. So disruption is all around us. Markets get disrupted all the time. Narratives, news cycles, they get disrupted all the time. We pretty much thrive in a very reactive culture. or there's always something happening, always something coming up in our face, always something grabbing our attention, a lot of changes that come about. But the question is, what do we do with that disruption? And, I have realized that life is disruptive. And what it does to us is it makes us feel out of sync with what's going on. And it can make us feel unprepared for that new context. And so the way to get ahead of disruption and the effects of it is by leading the change. Be a leader in the change. Don't just wait until something is changed on you, and then you have to figure out how you're going to cope, how you're going to adjust, but be proactive, not reactive, and actually lead with disruption and be a disruptive leader, be a disruptive force for good instead of just waiting for things to go bad. And so the example I want to give is flying internationally, which I haven't done in a while. I'm looking forward to travel again. But the idea of jet lag really comes to mind when I think about disrupting yourself, because you're going through a lot of disruption. You're going from one time zone into another time zone. And so you can either just wait and react to the effects of that change. You can stay up through the whole plane ride. You can watch all the movies and eat all the food and just stay on your own timeline, like nothing changed, like nothing happened. And then when you get there and you say, oh, wow, this is a big time change. And then you have to, spend a few days getting over all the effects, the headaches, whatever. Or you can be proactive. You say, hey, I know I'm going to be in this location, this city, this country. I'm going to wherever. The time difference is 6 hours, 9 hours. Let me get proactive. Let me set my schedule to the new time that I'm going. Even before I get there, let me set my time to the new time. Let me go to sleep differently. Let me drink a lot of water. Let me do X, Y, and Z, because I'm identifying and I'm locating myself in the new time zone, even though I'm not completely there yet. I hope that makes sense. And so this idea of disrupting yourself is really motivated by the fact that you are going to make a choice to identify with your future, not your past. You want to identify with your future and not your past. And so I want to encourage you that you don't have to live with this, past success or past failure hanging over you. You can lean forward. You can be different. You can make a difference. You can level up. You can grow as a person. You can develop in new and needed ways. You don't have to be kind of boxed in to familiarity. And so that's where this idea of disruption comes in, because the enemy of futurability is familiarity. When you get too familiar with where you are, or you get too familiar with where you've been, and you can say, it will always be this way. Life will always be this way. My job will always be this way. My health will always be this way. My money will always be this way. Everything will be this way. It won't. You will not always be this way. And that is both, encouraging and sobering. For some of you, you're in like a really stressful time. You're going through it. You're having a lot of challenges right now. And you kind of get in that tunnel view. And whenever you look out in the future and you really don't see what you can't even see yourself in the future. You can't even imagine what it's going to be like, because whenever you are feeling hopeless about the future, you're actually feeling helpless in the present. And I don't know which comes first, chicken or the egg, or hopelessness versus helplessness, but I know that they're connected. And instead of thinking that whatever you're going through right now is going to be forever, that it's going to mark you, scar you, keep you in that prison of a very, very painful, difficult present, I want you to tell yourself this too shall pass. I want you to tell yourself, my story's not over. I want you to tell yourself, I'm going to get through this. I don't have to put up with this. It may take some time. It's definitely going to take work, but there's always hope. There's always hope. And so that's a positive, encouraging side of this, that things will change. On the other side, you need to be a little sober-minded and say, hey, I'm not getting any younger. Hey, I don't want to, get lazy and get settled and just act like all of these benefits or blessings are just going to be handed to me. They were given at a great cost. Maybe I didn't make the cost, maybe I didn't make the sacrifices, but somebody made sacrifices for me to have what I have, for me to experience what I am living in right now. So I shouldn't just be chilling right now. I need to realize things are not going to be the same. So whatever happens next, it's on me. I have to take action. I have to be proactive. I have to take ownership and get engaged with the growing, changing process. Man, we get this opportunity. We get this moment called today. And it's either going to look to the past or it's going to look to the future. It's either going to look at where we've been, or it's going to look at what's possible and where we're going. And so familiarity becomes the enemy of where you're going, becomes the enemy of what's possible, becomes the enemy. Now, I'm all about remembering your story, remembering your history, remembering, why you got started in the first place. Absolutely. But if you think that you're just going to hit freeze for a few years, there's no logic in that. You're not just going to hold one status of life forever. And what we try to do is we get to a good place and we plateau there. We get to a good place in our life and we stop growing. We stop learning. We stop trusting. We stop trying. And we just say, I'm good. Can't complain. When really we should never have that complacency creep in, that familiarity creep in. And we should say, I'm so grateful that I'm here, but I know that I've got more to go. I've got longer to go, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep growing. One, because I know that I have a destiny, but also because I know people are counting on this progress. So don't let familiarity kick in, but be thinking about your future ability. I remember when I was dating my wife, and you like each other, but you've got these questions like, do we have a future together? What would our future together look like? And instead of making all of these assumptions and doing all of these mental gymnastics, trying to act like what what you need or what it's going to take. You start focusing on the bigger issues. Don't get caught up in all of the little things, all of the preferences and all of that. Just focus on the values. Make sure that you have, the same values, and make sure that you're going in the same direction. Make sure that you are on the same page in some of those bigger areas, and then journey together. And then you get to see how awesome, that relationship, that partnership can be. But there were moments when we were dating or courting, whatever you want to say, and I just had these little glimpses of awesomeness, and I was like, wow, I can totally see this relationship going the distance. I love that quality about her, about my wife. And I'm so impressed with her. Wow, the way she handled that, or the way she carries herself, or there's just these little windows of the future, and I got to see a little further. I got to see the futurability of it. And then having that confidence helped me, make those commitments, and vice versa. And so you want to get to a place where you are developing your own futurability, where people look at you and they say, is this person reliable? They look at you and they say, can I count on this person? They look at you and they say, will they be a good friend? Will they be a good leader? Do we have a future? I want to ask you, do you embody the future, or do you embody the past? Do you embody possibility and growth and promise, or do you represent a time that is no more, a time that doesn't work? I know that we need to go back to a lot of good values and foundations, and we need our heritage, but I would even say that those foundations were put down for the future. They were never about just leaving in the rearview mirror, just leaving them behind. So the good things that are in our foundation actually prepare us and promote us to experience a better future, and we have to carry them with us into the future. The other thing I would say is, don't look to your past to determine your future, but what you do today, let it be motivated not just by what you're doing, but by who you're becoming. So many people are scarred by things that they've done that they regret now, or things that have been done to them that were not their fault. And that is so painful. And you've got to go through a healing process, so that way the future doesn't feel like, a prison, where it doesn't feel like the same mistakes are going to just keep happening over and over again, or the same brokenness is just going to go with you into the future. When you go through a healing process and you get closure, and then you get clarity, you can move forward, and you're not repeating the same past again and again and again, but you actually have a new way forward. And this is an easy insert for me, but as a Christian, that's why I'm so grateful for Jesus, because he doesn't just give you a new chapter, he gives you a new life. You get a new future. It's not a future, and I mean more than just where you're going to be in a few decades. But the point with this conversation is to make it super practical for you. And what I would say is, you need to be in the practice of disrupting where you are, intentionally disrupting where you are to identify with where you're going. You need to lead that. You need to initiate that. Don't wait for other things or other people to change you, but you initiate that change for yourself. You are not helpless. You can be empowered. You can be helpful. And so disrupt yourself by identify with where you're going, identify with that sense of calling that you have, identify with what's important, identify with what's possible, identify with those people that are ultimately going to be so thankful that you were willing to lead by example in a way that is unique and needed. And so there are 3 areas that I want you to disrupt. And we're going to go into this in future conversations. But the first area you need to be disrupting intentionally are your routines. Your routines are really designed to get you from one point to a completely new point in an incremental way. Your routines were never designed to get you in a rut. If you're doing routines that get you in ruts, you're not doing them right. Routines are action steps that we can take consistently to get from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain, so to speak. You've got this goal, you've got this vision of where you're going, and honestly, you can't get there right now. I mean, 1 or 2 jumps is not enough to get there. But if you take these intentional action steps, you can get there eventually. You can grow, you can change, you can develop, you can prepare, you can scale, you can level up. But you've got to have that consistency, and you got to keep moving forward. And so that's what the routines allow you to do, is just help you steward that long game, help you steward those extended seasons where growth is a little bit harder to wrap your head around. And that's what I love about these routines is, it's not a lot. It's just doing simple things consistently, doing simple things well, doing simple things with purpose. And when you build these routines into your life, then it becomes habitual. And now, failure is not your habit, but success becomes your habit. Laziness is not your reputation, but excellence is your reputation. How'd you get there? It's because you were willing to go on that journey, and you were designing your life with these action steps. And those action steps became routines that you could practice again and again. So the thing about these routines that is either really good or really bad is that they get to a point where you don't even think about them anymore. So it could be really good in the sense that when you are intentional and purposeful up front, and you develop these routines and you practice these routines over time, they stick with you. I think that's one of the gifts of parenting in general, is that parents can instill good values, good life skills, good practices that you may not appreciate yet. But by the time you grow up a little, you look back and you say, wow, that was really cool. I love this quote, the goal of parenting is de-parenting. In other words, you're not codependent, but you actually become empowered. And without that kind of, development going on, you'll always be, you just kind of move from one external source to another. So your routines have to get disrupted intentionally. We're going to be talking about that. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 4 easiest routines that you need to be disrupting. There are a lot of routines you can be disrupting, but how do you break bad habits? How do you start better habits? And beyond the habit game, how do you design a routine that will help you, identify with your future and not just leave you familiar with your past? If you remember the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, it's a cartoon, and I don't know, it just kind of comes to mind. But baby Brent, he grew up as this little baby star, and he never really outgrew that reputation, that identity. He never really broke out of that. And if you're not disrupting your identity, you're getting stuck in an outdated identity. If you're not disrupting yourself, then you're not growing and becoming the person or the leader that you are needed to be. You're not becoming the friend or the spouse or the leader that's going to be helpful and, reliable in the future. Because there are challenges that are coming in the future. And thankfully, we don't have to worry about that today. But the way we live today with intentionality and integrity will absolutely set us up for success when those moments come. So your routines need to get disrupted. The second thing is your rhythms. Your rhythms need to be disrupted the same way. This is where we can look at rhythms of life. This is where we can look at the bigger view. The calendar really helps with this. So we'll be going through some calendar strategies to help you both evaluate and develop your rhythms. I'm going to talk about the difference between routines and rhythms and help you disrupt your rhythms so that way your rhythms are leaning forward and not leaning backwards. You're not, drawing back with hesitation or procrastination, but you're actually leaning forward with this motive of preparation. The last thing, and as you can guess already, it's an alliteration, so it's going to start with an R, but I think you need to disrupt your relationships. Now that sounds spicy. It sounds harsh, but it's actually very, very good, because when you disrupt your relationships, it doesn't mean that you are picking and choosing which people you're going to be nice to based on their quote futurability. But it really is about how you as a individual and how you as a person are going to relate to people. And you have to learn how to relate differently to people in order to give that relationship a future. Because if you just keep playing the same strategies, and if you just keep, playing the same roles, you're not going to have a future that way. And if you do, it'll just be a very stagnant past that's been put on pause, a few decades longer or overdue. So realizing that people are on a journey, that everyone is growing and changing and developing, and we want to be healthy relationships, not harmful or toxic relationships. And we want to have healthy relationships that are empowering and encouraging and empathetic. So disrupting your relationships is really important. There are going to be some relationships that have really gotten to an unhealthy place, and you can't get healed in the same place you got harmed in, that you got sick in, so to speak. So there are going to be some tough calls for sure, but hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully you can be an agent of change. You can be a positive influence. You can be a restorative presence in people's lives. You are undergoing restoration, so you can share that with other people. Hurt people, but healed people can help with the healing process for others. And so, this is not about picking or choosing, but it really is about learning how to disrupt the relationships you have and kind of the same conversations and the same roles that you're keeping up, and actually going for deeper relationships, more meaningful relationships, or more productive relationships, relationships that are based around contribution and connection, and not, just these kind of superficial affinities. So that's going to be really good. That I'm really looking forward to explore that ground on Thursday. And then we'll be back on Friday with Future Friday, which is dedicated to answer questions, and it's all about the future friends. So I want to get you in the email community at the end. But I have already sent out a text message to one of my great friends, and I'm not going to announce them yet until we've got it locked in. But it looks, I would say, in probably the 80 to 90% range, like a green light. It looks like this great friend of mine is going to be a guest on Future Friday, and prepare to go there. And I just think that they are amazing, and I can't wait to have a good conversation about, disrupting yourself for the future, and then maybe even disrupting your team for the future. And when you can learn this as a life skill, right? It's not just a moment that you survived. It's not just an event that you went through. And you look back and you're like, man, that was crazy. I was not ready for that. I was not prepared for that. Oh man, that one almost took me out. I'm so glad I don't have to go through that ever again. It's like, well, actually, there's going to be a lot more disruption in your future. So let's get good at it. And then when we get good at it, maybe we could actually facilitate good disruption. Maybe we could lead really positive changes that help people get out of the past, get out of familiarity, and really add more and more value to their future ability. So that is going to be the week ahead. And I'm going to be dropping a blog today, so go check it out. It'll be along the same lines, disrupting your identity for the future. If you're interested in this, or just self-leadership in general, I want to invite you again to be one of the future friends. Join the email community. I send an email out every week with a kind of a bundle of all the coaching conversations that we're having that week. And then I also share info and incentives to all of the projects and products that I'm working on with you in mind. There is a free fail-proof planning guide waiting for you. It's a thank you just for listening, and I just want to help you get going, get better. And so this will get you started with a proven step-by-step planning process. It's not a one and done plan by any means, but it's a guided work session that will help you answer the right questions, so that way you can get different results. You can get that two ways. There will be a link at the bottom of this video. Just click Fail-Proof Planning Guide, your name and email, and then you'll download this immediately. Or if for whatever reason you're looking for another route, you can go to peterbirchfield.com and look for Fail-Proof Planning Guide there as well. Getting the planning guide gets you in the community as well. All right. Thanks again. I'm going to land the plane here. We will be back tomorrow. Remember, you're going places, so prepare to go there.